I'm Susan Albright. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I've been a registered nurse since 1994 and started as a nurse practitioner in 2010. And I am the owner and operator of Phoenix Ultra Wellness and MediSpa in Grants Pass, Oregon.
I'm Madison Albright. I'm a master esthetician and owner of MLA Aesthetics.
We are creating this podcast to be able to bring more information to the public about past struggles together as a mother and daughter, and how we're building a business as a mother and daughter, and also to be able to share our own stories of struggles and past abuse, and to be able to share that with others so they know that they are not on their own.
I agree with Susan about sharing our stories with people in the world. I think it's important to talk about these kind of topics, even though you're kind of told not to talk about them because they're kind of taboo. But I think it's important to share your stories with other people because you never know if people are also going through that. And I think it'd be very beneficial to know that even though all of these things happen to your life, you can ultimately do whatever you want to do if you decide to heal yourself.
With our podcast, we're going to have trigger warnings. Some of the subjects in the material that we're going to share could trigger individuals who have gone through subjects that we're speaking on or touching on. Some of those can be depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, sexual abuse, emotional and physical abuse, and struggles with weight loss. We want to remind you, our listeners, that the stories that we're sharing are ours, results of different things that we have done that have helped us with our mental health struggles, are results based from us.
This is going to be a multi-episode series. This episode is a short description of what the upcoming episodes will be.
We are going to talk about our childhood traumas that we have faced and different signs of depression and anxiety throughout childhood and to adulthood, as well as turning points and coping mechanisms.
On this episode, we're going to be talking to my mom about her childhood struggles. Mom, why don't you tell us about your childhood?
My childhood was very different. My father was a heavy drinker till I was about 10 years old. So there was some alcohol issues that were going on in the household. So that caused some issues, and I learned very quickly that I was the black sheep. So as I became an adult, it wasn't very clear to me why I had some of the behavioral patterns that I exhibited, especially once I started to have children. My depression and anxiety got worse, especially when I went through nursing school, because of the added stress of going through nursing school. And if anybody's been through it, it's atrocious. And then having a very unhealthy marriage did not help at all. And it wasn't until, I would say, 2021 that I really hit a brick wall with my depression and anxiety, to the point that I was suicidal. I had ended up going to my PCP and talked to them about it, and was started on an antidepressant. This would be probably the third time in my lifetime I had been started on an antidepressant. And once I started on antidepressant, I had to take FMLA from work because I was not able to function. I could not treat patients. And that snowballed into counseling, EMDR, acupuncture, Reiki, breathing techniques, a lot of different modalities, really anything at that point, because I was very desperate. I didn't want to in my life. I just wanted the suffering, the mental and emotional pain to stop. And looking back through that journey since the EMDR, while I was trying these other modalities to decrease the depression and anxiety, I started to learn breathing techniques that would help to calm the state down in the body when you're really nervous. There's also breathing techniques that you can learn that can put you into altered states. And as you begin to practice these breathing techniques, things will start to come up from the past, that your brain is a brilliant piece of machinery that can hide things that you may not have wanted to remember. Those episodes started to come up, like flashbacks of things that had happened. I had found out that I had been molested at the age of 5. I was sexually assaulted at the age of 9. And at the age of 9 is when my depression, that's the first time I can remember myself thinking, if I would just kill myself, would anybody even notice? And I thought, wow, that was that's a dark thought for a little kid to be thinking. What was going on in my head that I was thinking this? And it wasn't until I went into those altered states and was completely relaxed and completely open that the brain was just like, open this file, here you go. And it brought up the molestation and the sexual assault. And I was like, right there. That is the reason why I was like this as a child. This was the reason I was like this as a teenager. This was a reason why I had no self-respect for myself. This is a reason why I have and continue to stay into a very broken and damaging marriage. These are all the reasons why I, put up with the narcissistic director who is ruining my life. And I'm better than this. So all of that just kind of opened up into, holy crap, this happened to me. Now with going into altered states, no matter, how it's achieved, with mine, it's breathing techniques. You should have a way to take what has come up and integrate that into your day-to-day, so you're able to cope with that information. This is like getting a whole list of information about yourself that you had no idea, and then you're like, oh, now what do I do with this? And I didn't really have the support system to be able to really work through it. And we were going through COVID, and I was working as a medical director. And so the stressors of that job were just making everything worse. And it just came to a point that I couldn't. I'm like, time out. Like, if I could sleep for a week, that would be awesome. I don't want to ride this train anymore. And that was my final plea of, I've got to get help. Those 2 episodes sat dormant. I had no idea that they were even in my head. I have never had a dream of it. I have never realized it. Nothing was ever odd about it, except the individual that sexually assaulted me at the age of 9. I continued to run around with him as a little kid, riding in, on quad runners and things like that. and can remember him fondly from my childhood. So to have that memory come up and think, whoa, wait a minute, this person, like, I remember this person fondly until I was about 41 or 42 years old, and I hadn't seen that individual for like decades. And I was at our county fair, and he was in the beer garden, and I went into the beer garden because that's where the restrooms were, and a friend of mine said, oh, hey, so-and-so's here, and he wanted to talk to you. And I turned around, and for some reason, the hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. My heart started to race, and all I could hear was this voice in my head saying, run. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this was a childhood friend, but what I'm getting inside is so conflicting. And I got to this point that I was pretty panicked, and I was like, I can't stay here. I gotta go. And I left the fairgrounds. I was done. And I could not understand why I was experiencing that. And it wasn't until in my late 40s that I started to everything just started to snowball. Once COVID hit, and you worked in the medical profession, if you were having a hard time with anything, it was amplified 20-fold. And it wasn't until then that my depression, my anxiety, all of it was just getting to the point that I just couldn't function. That's, when I started the breathing exercises and everything else, to then open that folder up that my brain gave me and said, oh, you felt like this because when you were 9, this is what he did.
How did you feel being on antidepressants?
At first, I felt like I failed because I should be able to do this on my own, right? I prescribe this stuff to patients. Like, I never look at a patient when they're dealing with depression and say, oh, well, you should be able to handle it. I would never do that to a patient. But for some reason, when you become a provider, you have to be this stoic, knight in shining armor that has no feeling and only just wants to nurture others, but really will allow themselves to be destroyed, in essence, just so they can continue to make sure that their patients' lives are taken care of. It was a blow to be able to have to go on it. I knew when I went on it that I would have to step away from my job for 3 months to 6 months due to the fact that the medicine delays, at least with me, with my experience, it delays your thinking. And when you work in urgent care, you cannot have delayed thinking. I think it was even worse because what I was going through was probably a mental breakdown, or what some people say is a spiritual breakthrough, where this is you, and you're in a rebirth of, you're shedding off that old and you're coming out of it as a new individual. So it's a blow to the ego. And sometimes we have to just tell our ego, just be quiet, because that medicine is going to help you to transition to be a healthier individual.
Subconsciously, do you feel like your decisions were impacted because of your past experiences?
Yes. To me, looking back and realizing this is why I did things, I developed very quickly at the age of 13. Like, I went to bed one day and got up the next day and all of a sudden I had boobs. Like, what do you do with these? I literally, and I'm like, what do you do with these? And of course I was always very tall for my age. And so at 13, I was attracting the attention of 16-year-old boys, which made me very uncomfortable. I did not like the attention. It was not pleasant at all. But then in a way you do, you crave that, I guess, that male gaze, or you're taught to want that male gaze, whether that's through religious trauma, whether that's through culturally, handed down from grandma to mom to daughter, that social grooming. Because, you all of a sudden at a 13-year-old has, almost size C cups, and they're taller than everybody else. And, I was a gangly, awkward child. Yeah, social grooming would be a great word, because you're taught that you want that male attention, you want that male gaze, you want them to, see you as this goddess. And but when it got to the point that they want to touch you, it was like, no, don't. And as I got older, I learned that if you gain weight, guess what? Nobody wants to talk to you. So I have struggled with my weight for decades, not really understanding why I was struggling with it. But I had learned that if I kept an extra 50 pounds on this 5'8" body, that people don't really want to talk to you. Guys don't want to walk up to you and talk to you. It took a really long time for me to finally go, you know what, this is ridiculous. I've got diabetes in my family, I've got cardiovascular in my family, I have got to get these pounds off. Like, I am just killing my body. And that was about 5 years ago. I think I was to the point that I was like, I need to get this weight off, because this is just not healthy. And I got it off and do fine with it. I still do not like if someone makes comments to me in public about something I'm wearing. I get really I get anxious about it. So that's another thing that comes up, that you're like, why do I act like that? At my age, I should not be this awkward or feeling this much anxiety. And once that all came forward about the abuse, I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. That would be why. And that kind of just sticks with you still at my age. Like,
Those experiences affect you as a mom?
I don't think those experiences affected me as a mom. I think they didn't help me be a really great mom, because of the poor self-esteem. I ended up going through and basically socially grooming you the same way I was socially groomed. So that aspect of it was an issue. So we lived in a house where there was fat shaming, and that made it incredibly difficult also. And it wasn't really till I'll call it my spiritual awakening, because that just sounds nicer, and learning to improve myself, that I've been able to share that with you, and to be able to apologize for my misgivings as a mother. I could have done better, but I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. There is so much more to this story that we'll be sharing here in the future, but I feel like this is a good transition to be able to let you start your story.